This is a tale filled with dark secrets, betrayals, and tragedies that have been hidden in the shadows of my family for generations. For a long time, I had no idea about many things concealed behind the veil of silence, but when the truth began to surface, my entire world changed. Some of these secrets were so chilling that I still can't shake the feeling that something sinister lurks behind every step. My mother, before meeting my father, was once engaged to another man. He was her first real love, and perhaps it was with him that she envisioned her future. Her parents adored him and thought he was the perfect match. Even her silver jewelry was engraved with his initials, a small reminder of what could have been. But, in the end, she chose my father. When I was young, I always wondered why there was a mysterious letter, J, engraved on our family silver. My mother never spoke about her past, and I never knew the secret she carried with her until she passed away. We found an old newspaper clipping about her engagement, a few photographs, but nothing else about him. This man vanished from her life, and perhaps forever. When my mother was on her deathbed, one of the darkest secrets finally came to light. My great-grandmother confessed to my grandmother that she had been responsible for the death of her husband, my great-grandfather. The official cause was a heart attack, brought on by heatstroke and old malaria he had suffered from in his youth. However, my great-grandmother told a different story. On the morning of his heart attack, he had been rude and harsh with her, and in her anger, she slipped rat poison into his coffee. But, after thinking it over, she poured it out before serving him the coffee. However, she hadn't washed out the cup, and as it turned out, just a trace of poison was enough to kill someone already weakened by illness. This truth had been buried for decades, and only after my great-grandmother passed did she finally reveal it. Several years later, when I was about 11, our family learned a shocking truth about my father. He had always been the only child in his family, and everyone believed it was because his mother had undergone a hysterectomy shortly after marrying my grandfather. But it turned out that the real reason was far more complicated and sinister. During long family talks, a chilling truth about my grandmother came to light. In her youth, she had endured something unimaginable. When she was pregnant, her mother had threatened to disown her and give her daughter away to another family if she didn't give up the child. This was all tied to my grandmother's first husband, who didn't want children, and his strange behavior in their marriage. Years later, these secrets became even darker. When my aunt entered our lives, my grandfather, despite all the family turmoil, accepted her as his own daughter. He was truly happy, as he had always wanted a daughter, and he didn't hide his love for her. But my grandmother, despite everything, remained silent. My aunt was only 3 years younger than my father, and my grandfather married my grandmother when my father was just 6 years old. When I was around 20, another figure emerged, an uncle who was a year older than my father, but his story was even stranger. We didn't know all the details, as he was special, and wasn't greeted as warmly as my aunt had been. But my grandfather accepted him anyway and forgave him. My grandmother could have said something in that moment, but, as always, she remained silent. But the story didn't end there. When both my grandmother and grandfather passed, another uncle appeared, Paul, who was a year and a half younger than my father, but older than my aunt. It turned out that his birthday coincided with the date my grandmother received a medical certificate confirming her hysterectomy. He had been a family friend for decades, and his arrival was no coincidence. He had kept his true role in our family a secret, waiting for my grandfather to pass before revealing it. It turned out that my grandparents couldn't have children because of a tragic mistake in their past. My grandmother had become pregnant by another man while my grandfather was away on business trips. In search of a solution, she went to a doctor who promised to help if she agreed to have the surgery. It was a difficult decision, but they decided to keep the child, and my father became the only child among 4 siblings. All these hidden secrets, buried deep in the past, have now come to light, and I still can't fully comprehend how they all fit together. But is there really any sense in trying to unravel all these mysteries? Perhaps the true strength lies in forgiving and moving forward, no matter what was hidden for so long.